Hello, everyone. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live. Today, you've tuned in to hear all about Next Gen CX and building lasting connections with Gen Z in a digital world. My name is Emily Flanagan. I lead America's marketing at Infobip, and I'm your hostess today. I'd like to introduce you to our expert panelists who happen to be our partners at Microsoft. Michelle, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you, Emily. I'm Michelle Fisher. I work at Microsoft. I lead our strategy for retail and consumer goods globally around anything and everything marketing. And I'll pass it off to Mike.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. So I'm on the same team as Michelle. At Microsoft, I lead strategy for retail and consumer goods, but where Michelle focuses on marketing, I focus on all things data, AI, security, and commerce. So happy to be here today.
All right, thanks. And look, a webcast about Gen Z isn't complete without expert Gen Zers. So we have two joining us today. Alice and Jeremiah, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, of course. I can kick things off. Hi, everybody. My name is Alice Good, and I'm on the product marketing team at Infobip. And as Emily said, a proud Gen Zer. Over to you, Jeremiah.
Hi, I'm Jeremiah, and I am currently a product marketing manager at Microsoft on the AI for Retail team. Excited to be here and help answer any questions.
Awesome, thanks. So before we get started, I thought maybe we could throw a little bit of context on today's topic. First, why does Gen Z matter? This generation has distinct characteristics that set them apart from millennials, Gen X, and boomers. They were raised in a digital age. They expect seamless, personalized, and authentic interactions. And for brands to truly succeed, brands must meet them where they already are. They're on messaging and chat apps. They're on social media. They're on AI-powered channels. And so also you might be wondering, what are Infobip and Microsoft up to together? Well, we empower brands with scalable and secure CX solutions that are built for the future. Infobip is a managed Microsoft partner. All of our solutions you can grab on the Azure Marketplace, and where available, Infobip is running on Azure globally. So together, what we're doing is we're working with retail brands to engage customers through AI and omnichannel messaging, and the Infobip platform powers retail customer journeys across channels that Gen Z loves. We're talking about SMS, RCS, Instagram, live chat, you name it, our platform has it. So now with the contextual foundation laid, if you will, let's get the discussion started. So first, who is Gen Z? What do they expect? Let's dig into their consumer behavior a little bit. Look, they're digital natives. They're super tech savvy. They're already engaging in omni-channel behaviors. 83% of Gen Z, they want to be genuinely understood by brands. They don't want to just buy products. They really buy into a brand's mission, and purpose is just as important as the product itself. So question to our Gen Zers, we can start with Alice. We know Gen Z cares about value and values. You want good prices, yet you want brands to take a clear stance on something. Can you walk us through what your purchasing decisions are when you have a brand that you believe in, but it might cost a little bit more?
Yeah, totally. And I think everything you've said about Gen Z so far absolutely resonates with me. I think I'm definitely on the side of Gen Z that's trying to move past overconsumption and be a little bit more intentional with what I buy. So for me, that means probably buying a little bit less, but focusing on the quality of the goods that I do buy, even if that means that they cost a little bit more. But since being Gen Z, like we don't have unlimited budgets, right? So that means that research is absolutely key. So I guess first and foremost in my buying decisions, I'll always check out a brand's website, especially if they're a brand that's new to me. Really go check out their like about us section to see kind of how they describe themselves. But beyond that, being someone who is chronically online, I will then next go to a social media platform. So probably the likes of TikTok, to be honest, or Instagram Reels, and try to find reviews from real people. What I mean by that is not necessarily like influencers, but like actual people who I can relate to and resonate with, and see how they're using the product, see what they think about it. Personally, I actually do like going into a store and speaking to like a representative from that brand if possible. But that's not always the case. But having somebody to speak to from the brand, so having a way to engage with them, usually over chat, goes a long way for me personally in building my confidence. So even having access to like a quick live chat where they give quick responses just really makes me feel like the brand is approachable and actually cares about my concerns. So yeah, small touches like that go a long way for me in building confidence so that I feel good about spending kind of that limited budget that we have with those new brands.
Okay, Jeremiah, how does this align with you? You feeling the same?
Yeah. Well, I actually resonated a lot with the quality part because there is, so much overstimulation with so many options that are given to you. I definitely do nitpick. So yeah, when making purchasing decisions, particularly when it comes to like clothing, I focus on a balance between quality and value. And I prioritize quality over quantity because I believe that investing in well-made items pays off in the long run. And like for instance, I examine my own closet and identify which pieces have withstood the test of time. And this history of durability strongly influences my trust in the brand. And at the same time, I'm mindful of pricing. There's a point where good quality at a fair price creates like a sort of sweet spot that makes it worthwhile to buy additional pieces. And this approach not only like helps me experiment with different styles, but it also reinforces my connection with the brand by rewarding consistency in quality and value. And of course, I also consider the opinions of others as compliments or positive feedback can be a useful indicator of what I'm going to buy next. But ultimately, I think my decision is guided by what resonates with me personally, and I aim to choose products that I truly love, balancing the allure of current trends and social approval with long-term satisfaction and durability. Mhm.
Okay, so look, a lot of research, a lot of intention goes into what you're purchasing. It needs to align with you. So if we're looking at our generational trends report that we have, we saw that 37% of Gen Z, they're actively shopping and they are willing to pay those premium prices for aligned values like you're talking about. So Mike, Michelle, maybe Mike can go first on this one. What for the brands, what strategic considerations should they make when thinking about building transparent brand communications, demonstrating social commitment, and how ultimately can brands demonstrate value beyond price?
Yeah, I love it. Thanks for the question, Emily. And thanks, Alice and Jeremiah, for sharing just a little bit of your stories. I think we can pontificate on what we think matters, but it's so useful hearing you both share your lived experiences because that's what matters to us and the brands that we work with. I think when it comes to aligning the strategic considerations to all around transparent brand communications, for me, it first and foremost, it comes down to being authentic. And brands have to have the right positioning to then actually ladder why they exist and why they matter to the social commitments and values that matter to them as a brand and the people that they serve. I think conversely, if brands see this as an opportunity and rush to having more of a purposeful slant to their messaging or being about all the values, I think that comes across as inauthentic, not true to the brand, and ultimately erodes the relationship between the brand and customer. So number one, stand for what you stand for and make that really about your why. I'd say number two, then it really comes down to like in order to earn the quality and the value, comes down to building those trusted relationships with customers. And Alice was talking about like how painstaking the research is. Like that to me all comes down to, can you trust what the brand is about and their ability from an expertise standpoint to help you hire that right product, that right service into your life to fix the need or meet the opportunity that you have. So I think if brands can continue to maintain that level of authenticity, be trustful and transparent in all the communications, I think that's where on that 2x2 of quality and price, I think brands can successfully move up in the right direction.
Michelle, what do you think?
I agree with everything that Mike just said, but I'll do a yes and. So digital savvy shoppers especially can spot performative activism from a mile away. And brands today, they can't just create a beautiful imagery and an amazing tagline or even a promotion. They have to be really transparent in their reporting on these sustainability or DEI or social impact initiatives that they have. So the mission really needs to be so much more than a marketing tool and needs to be a value that's reflected across every single aspect of a business. almost like a connective tissue between marketing and the site or the app, stepping into the store, receiving the packaging. So additionally, tracking and measuring and communicating that impact to customers in real time. I mean, I got a order confirmation the other day after I bought some jeans that said, "You did good," really big on, up on the top. And then it said, "We ran the numbers, and below here are your savings from your order. You saved 12 pounds of carbon dioxide and 8,000 gallons of water. High five yourself." And I loved that. I thought that that was value that went way beyond price.
Okay. So we're talking about a generation here. They expect brand authenticity. They're experts in detecting insincerity. Buying overall is almost seen as a statement of their own personal values. So they're researching on online, in store, doing as much as they can. Trust and meaningful connections to the brand is super key here. And for the brands, aligning in a consistent voice, like you were saying, Michelle, tracking, measuring the impact. These are all super, super important for Gen Z at this point. So have any other thoughts to add before we move to our next topic of conversation? Okay, so let's talk about attention span. Okay, so the average human's attention span has decreased from 12 seconds to about 8.5 seconds in the last 20 years. That's not a lot of time. However, the average Gen Z attention span is a little bit lower, about 8 seconds. So it appears with Gen Z, it's a new language of brand communication. They're texting, chatting, they're a social platform first generation. And it almost requires this rethinking of traditional marketing approaches. Brands have a much shorter time to make impact before they lose an audience here. So brand content is core to this. And so as a result, there's been a rise in conversational marketing as a primary engagement strategy for brands. Jeremiah, let's get your thoughts here as a Gen Z. A brand has about 8 seconds to capture your attention. What makes you stop scrolling and actually engage with the brand's content?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm at the bottom of that percentile. I think it's like way less than 8 seconds,
Okay, fair.
to be honest. But for me, certain triggers in a brand's content, like immediately grab my attention in the digital noise. Like when I'm scrolling, I'm drawn to like an emotional trigger, whether that's like an advertisement telling like a captivating story or a product being featured in media that I love. And yeah, that creates an instant connection. If a narrative or a visual element resonates with me, it sparks the kind of emotional attachment that makes me want to learn more about the product right then and there. And however, price still plays a significant role in my engagement as well. Even if I'm enchanted by a product's presentation, if it's unaffordable or commonly found, like a lot of others have purchased it, I might keep scrolling and confident that there are more unique finds out there. And on the rare occasion when a deal is simply too good to pass up, I might even make a spontaneous purchase based on that irresistible price. Um, and so, in essence, it's kind of a combination of an emotional trigger, compelling storytelling, be it through an ad or other media, and a product's overall value that makes me stop scrolling and truly engage with the content.
Alice, what do you think about the 8 seconds?
Guilty as charged, unfortunately. It just is what it is at this point. So yeah, can definitely relate to that. For me, I guess to echo what both Mike and Michelle have said around relatability, like relatability is everything. As Gen Zers, we've grown up all our lives exposed to advertisements, digital advertisements. We can spot something inauthentic, overly polished, like instantly, and we'll just keep scrolling. What actually makes me stop, I think, is like spontaneous content, stuff that doesn't seem scripted, seems super authentic, really like behind the scenes content from brands. So think of, behind the scenes of like how a product is made, or like a day in the life of the team, or kind of just like their team's top picks of like the latest drop or something like that. I personally really love that content. For me, it helps like break down the like corporate facade, I guess, and see this business as like something that I can relate to. Seeing like the people behind the brand just makes it a lot more relatable, almost gives like kind of a community vibe. So for me, that makes the content just seem, I think, altogether just like more human, less corporate, and just more approachable. So those are kind of some things that draw me in. And yeah, I find once I get to know the people behind the brand, it just like it gives a bit more of a connection. So yeah, those are just a few things for me.
Okay, so connection, community, it being relatable to you. Okay, so Michelle, Mike, Gen Z, they're expecting brands to communicate like friends, right? It's super casual, it's relatable. So how should brands adapt their content strategy to cut through the noise, but then also drive meaningful engagement? What are your suggestions? Michelle?
Well, as the resident millennial of this conversation, I will also say my attention span is quite short. So it's not just Gen Z on the call. I think that a lot of us have that short attention span when we're scrolling. But a common icon that we see being used consistently with marketing is a megaphone. And I think that in traditional marketing, we've been loud and in your face. Because we were looking at metrics like impressions and clicks and things like that. But now marketing strategies are leaning much more into, as you said, Alice, more community building or even group chat. I know you mentioned chat apps that you use to connect more with brands, which we're seeing actually have much higher performance than what would be more traditional marketing or over curated marketing. That behind the scenes look is also, we're seeing a rise in KPIs and return on ad spend and things like that when you do content that's more behind the scenes. So I think that what we'll see from, shifting the content strategy is less marketing campaign and more conversation. And personally, I'm all about that. I think that I'm having conversations all the time with AI assistants, for example. I mean, I do work at Microsoft, so there's that. But finding the best ski gear for my toddler or a meal guide for a picky eater. Brands can use AI now to have more natural conversations that are more consistent with their brand tone and voice by decoding trending chats in real time, quickly generating multiple different content variations so that they feel more human crafted, and also testing different visual approaches. So those are some of the strategies that I would consider in trying to reach more digital savvy, digital native, whatever you want to call it, shoppers.
Yep. I love that, Michelle. That there's so much in there to unpack. What if we take a step back, like Jeremiah, when you're talking about in the answer to your first question around like overstimulation, right? And then like given in that sea of overstimulation and clutter, emotional triggers and storytelling, how that kind of peers through. And then Alice, your points around being relatable and more human-centered. It forces brands to really like focus, and how it highlights how focus can be a superpower in terms of reaching the audience that you need to. Like rather than say 2, 3, 4, n number of things at the same decibel, like pick one thing and try to make that as human-centered as possible, and then have that be not just a flash in the pan, but actually a part of the conversations that you're driving. So I know that's kind of a lofty one, but I feel like anytime you're reminded with how stark 8 seconds is, and then the reality that 8 seconds is really like longer when you think about your own lived experience, it's probably much less than that. What can you say in as few words as possible, as concise as possible, as human-centered as possible? And that really should drive your content and your strategy going forward.
Right. So quick, spontaneous, emotionally driven content. It needs to be digestible. It needs to, all while maintaining relatability and, focus for the brand. And so it's kind of really sparking this connection that Gen Z craves through community. We heard Michelle talk about less campaigning, more conversations, especially through AI chatbots and assistants. That's going to help brands at the end of the day help with scale, decoding the data, testing, and so on. Really good stuff. So we're starting to lean into chatbots a little bit more. It's trusted by Gen Z. They're already demonstrating sophisticated omni-channel behaviors let's dig into the survey data a little bit. 92% expect communication to be targeted and relevant to consider purchasing from a brand, and 94% say that personalized messages are really important to stay brand loyal. So I'll go with Alice first on this one. What does a personalized touch from a brand mean to you? And in your eyes, what is good customer service?
Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting question, right? Because I feel like every brand is trying to crack this, but for me personally, like a personal touch means that a brand sees me as an individual and not just another consumer. And then to answer your other question, I feel like good customer support should also be proactive as opposed to just reactive, like, getting ahead of issues maybe before they're an issue, or anticipating my needs maybe even before I know that it's something that I need. So something that resonates with me quite a lot is loyalty programs. Now loyalty programs have been, done a million times, but I personally love loyalty programs that go just beyond discounts. Anybody can do a discount, but a lot of clever loyalty programs are actually delivering like real value. So access, early access to their members for exclusive drops. So to Jeremiah's point, like we love, products that feel unique or that are part of like a limited quantity. So, rewarding our loyalty with giving us like either early access or exclusive access to product drops is super cool. Even hosting like community events, bringing it back to community, hosting pop-ups that are only available to loyalty members is something that's super cool as well. And also brings together members because, realistically, we are probably all of similar interests. So bringing people together and like talking about the product, I think is also super cool. Thoughtful perks, personalized recommendations. I've had brands reach out to me after I've bought the product to give me tips and tricks on how to get the most out of the product, or suggesting products that work well with what I've just bought, that kind of thing. So that kind of brings it back to that proactive customer support as well. And then in addition to that, for me, having access to like detailed customer reviews. So again, reviews from real people, reviews that include, not just text, but that include images, that include videos, the ability to filter reviews as well, so that I can find reviews that are super applicable to me. Based on like different things. If it's a skincare brand, I can filter by my skincare concerns and that kind of thing, just to really whittle it down to what makes sense for me. All of those things packaged together is what I personally see as good customer support in the modern marketplace, I guess.
I have to say, I love that too. That's one of my favorite features about reviews, is being able to filter by my height or, like my skin concern, huge. Things like that. It's super important these days. And I say that as a micro generation in between the Gen X and millennials. Jeremiah, what do you think?
Totally aligned with everything Alice said. I think for me, like a personal touch from a brand means they like truly understand who I am. And like I'm more than just like an algorithm or a data point. And it's more about recommendations that like align with my interests, values, and my lifestyle. So like when a brand offers products to speak to my personality, or even inspires new direction, it creates a connection that is like meaningful and unique. And I actually keep track of a few brands that constantly deliver these kind of targeted messaging as they align with my experiences and memories from the past or aspirations of the future. So just to kind of hit on that point that Alice was saying, like loyalty programs and stuff, like I feel like I want to be rewarded for being that way, for keeping track of that brand, like of a certain product. I'd love to just be rewarded for that, and like for limited time drops, like I just want to be right on top of it, and feel like the brand is recognizing me. And as for what I consider good customer service, it goes beyond a simple transactional interaction. Good service to me is when a brand clearly demonstrates a passion for their product, while recognizing that I, as a customer, am an integral part of the experience. It means feeling that the communication isn't pushy, or rather informative, allowing me to explore and decide if the product truly enhances my life. Essentially, it's about the brand acting as a supportive resource tailored to my needs, rather than merely, treating me like another sales pursuit.
Mike, Michelle, So Gen Z's comfort with automation, it really creates opportunities for scalable personalization. So 88% of Gen Z, they believe that AI has improved brand interactions. So how are brands using AI to create more meaningful connections with Gen Z? And what role should automation and AI play in customer service?
Yeah, I love the question. This is on the mind of every brand that both Michelle and I work with in retail and consumer goods, which is what is the opportunity for me as a brand in the era of AI transformation, and how do I ultimately deliver better experiences to the customers that we serve? I have 2 points to make. The first one around personalization. I think there needs to be a continuous dialogue around the role between personalization and privacy, and how personalization is a great outcome as we're imagining the art of the possible, these omni-channel amazing experiences, but there's a value equation where customers are giving up or opting into sharing data in return for something in the other end, whether it's a better product, a better relationship, to Jeremiah's point, a brand that actually knows me and takes the time to know me. And I think brands, to go back to one of the first points around trust and transparency, being really open and honest with what that value equation looks like, because there are customers that fall on the line between, on one end of the spectrum, people who are holding their data close to their chest, have no interest in sharing it anywhere on the internet, all the way to people who are completely open and will share it with anyone, anywhere, anytime. And so acknowledging that personalization is a give-get and understanding how to best communicate that to customers, I think, is the key foundation for personalization. As we move into, I think, some of the really exciting topics around AI, and how AI, specifically generative AI, can impact and uplift personalization. Think about like the examples we're talking about here, where brands are deploying conversational shopping assistants, where now customers can go to e-commerce channels, and instead of navigating, traversing through a catalog, which is basically just a reflection of how products are organized in a warehouse, or using a keyword search where you have to understand the product that you want and be able to translate that product into the way that the company talks about the product. What if you could show up to these websites now, these digital experiences now, and go, what should I wear for date night? Or what should I make for dinner tonight with my family of 5? And given what I've opted into sharing with the brand, what that brand knows about me, it knows my order history, what's available on promotion, it knows that I'm a loyalty VIP member, and there's potentially an offer in there somewhere. I think that's a really interesting ground for delivering the next wave of personalization. And I think what's in it for brands is not only the opportunity to better connect with the Jeremiahs and Alice's and everyone's of the world, but it's also through generative AI, you can clearly understand the context when people are hiring your product to solve a specific need. Instead of knowing that I need a blue blazer, I know that I'm going on date night with my wife tonight. And that's a really interesting piece of marketing that then you can use to deliver an amazing experience the next time you interact with that brand.
So, summary here, the opportunity is huge for brands, especially when you're throwing AI into it. There's so many data points that can be harvested out to further hyper-personalize, cement loyalty with Gen Z. But you're right, there's this edge, right? That's with the trust of the data, and that's a huge point. Is as we're using all these data points, just to be mindful and of safeguarding that for these customers. So one last topic of conversation. It's a good one. It's about future-proofing, leaning into the future. This one is especially for Mike and Michelle. Looking ahead, what emerging technologies or platforms should brands be preparing for to stay relevant with Gen Z as they gain more purchasing power? So, what strategies are essential for maintaining engagement and loyalty with this generation?
I can kick it off. I think that, and I'd be very curious to hear actually from our Gen Z folks on the call as well, but I think that experiences will become more and more immersive. So more dialogue driven. They're already becoming dialogue driven and having conversations like Mike just mentioned around, how do I go in and have a conversation with a bot that knows me contextually and is able to take disparate pieces of information and data about me and understand what it is that is motivating me. I mean, that in and of itself is pretty incredible. So I think that having more dialogue-driven campaigns, if you will, and also radical transparency is going to be a key differentiator for brands. And when I say transparency, it can even be, just to summarize, having more of a perception around how the sausage is made, as you mentioned, Alice, how you look at the more behind the scenes types of things and who works there and what the mission is, et cetera. So those that are coming of age with AI, they really want to know about how their data is being used and to also feel control of it. I mean, it's new within the digital savvy generation that you even know what data is. I mean, Mike, did you talk about data when you were a kid?
Never, not once.
Didn't know what data was.
Shockingly, yeah.
So personalization, I don't think it will be a tactic anymore. We hear her personalization and even the words hyper personalization so much. It's such an overused term, and it's a tactic today, but it's really more of an expectation. It already is there, and I see that word kind of getting pushed aside because it's going to be so unbelievably critical that it's worked out with AI, and we're feeling like we're closer and closer to that. So to have ads populate in your feed these days that don't feel relevant is jarring or worse. So I think that will eventually we'll start moving away from that. And reach won't necessarily be determined by campaigns, but the ability to have that natural conversation. And it will open up entirely new worlds of metrics and that we follow as marketers, of experiences. And of course, AI moves so fast. So it's almost impossible to even say, what should you be planning for? I mean, we're seeing the timelines that we talk to with our customers, Mike, go from 5-year plans to 3-year plans to 18-month plans because the technology is moving so quickly. So, Mike, I'll pass it off to you.
Yeah, totally. And just to hit on the technology answer to that question, you're right. Things are moving at a breakneck pace, and I think as we're already in the era of AI transformation, and we're admittedly in the early innings, but the game has started, right? And now it's about, I think, as we're moving from traditional AI to now Gen AI and then into agentic AI, having a really good understanding for brands on balancing the opportunity with the automation, right? And like understanding that now we're going to have agents talking to each other and helping us get work done faster to deliver amazing experiences. I think what's at stake for brands is how can you capitalize on that productivity while also maintaining a sense of human-centered, a sense of relatability, a sense of the why behind the brand. Because there's going to be a lot of people kind of racing to use technology for the sake of technology. But I think if we can go back to that first question around how do we stand out in the sea of sameness? How do we, in the world where it's overstimulated, everything is cluttered, there are ways to be more efficient with AI, but it's got to be an and, right? How do we apply that to make our business more efficient, but then also stand up for the values and the why behind our brand, which is really what makes every brand competitively unique.
All right. So look, tech is moving fast. I was just going to ask you all about that before we started this webinar, what you're thinking about all the latest that's been happening with AI. Moving really quickly, but using automation has its good things. Gen Z wants more personalization, hyper personalization. We're able to give that to them with AI, and who knows what Gen Alpha is going to expect. Maybe we can dig into that on a next webinar. I did want to, to all of everybody that's joined us for this webcast, there is a QR code up in the top corner. If you scan that, there's a chat bot that you can play with all around conversational marketing. It's something that we built hand in hand with Microsoft. I encourage you to go play with that. And then if there's any questions that anybody wants to ask, drop them down here in the chat, and we'll wait for a couple of minutes and answer a couple. And if not, then we can answer them after we end the webcast. Any questions? Looking through the feed right now. I don't see any. Okay, so we'll take questions afterwards. Really wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you so much to our partners at Microsoft, Mike, Michelle, Jeremiah. Thank you for joining us. Alice, I will see you on another meeting. We work together at Infobip. And everybody, don't forget to scan the QR code, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Thanks so much.
Everyone.
All right, thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.